This is how you can be able to automate a pharmacy management system using n8n and also using Airtable. For this one, you shall just be using the free version, and also, but you can also use the commercial version. So once to begin this one, I'll just show you the workflows you shall be using. So we have these two workflows. These will be calculating the daily sales and also the total number of items sold each, and also now we'll be having this one which will now be doing the sync between the tables. So the first step for this one will be you just need to submit your form data. So for example, we can just say we want to submit this drug and we bought 2 items, and the price for this one, let's give it $1, so that will be around 120. And the daily sales we bought for this one, so with these ones we sold these ones at 240, and then we'll just need to submit for this form. So this one will just be created on this one, so we can just say those created today. And you can see here we have our drug here. So the first workflow from n8n will be trying to move this data from this daily sale and also now bringing it to the total sales. So this one is not filtered, so we shall just wait for our data on this table here. But one of the things you can discover is that once we just added that new entry, this is now the main dashboard which you shall now be using. And now this one will be summarizing most of the data. So these are the daily numbers, and this is now the what we have on the daily sales. So for example, on this one we had a daily sale of, we sold 14 items. Let's just remove this one. So since we are filtering by this view, so for this one we have 14 items, and now that is the total sale. So if you want maybe to check the total sales, the total amount which you had sold for this duration, you can just be able to find that data from this one. So here is the total sales we sold. Let's just move this one here and enlarge it. Yeah, and also you can be able to see the total sales you made, the quantities. If you can also still check the products and see, this is the prescription which we delivered, the quantity we sold 5 items, this was the price, and these are the amounts. You can just close this one. So also the other one will be in terms of, let's say on this day we had made the total sales. So the other thing we can just be able to compare is which of these drugs perform the best. For example, we can be able to see the ones which we sold the most drugs. So maybe this one is hemophosph liquid, and you can see from this one we sold it around 9 times. So that is one of the ones we can just be able to check with. Also you can be able to check in terms of the pricing, which had the highest price, and also which had the lowest pricing. So this one we sold for around 2,700. You can just be able to find out pricing on this one here. So as you can be able to see, these are the different pricings which we had for this drug. So this is just demo data. That's why you can see there are some errors in terms of these two drugs are not the same pricing. So this one you are using 500 and this one you are using 300. But now in the final one we shall just be having a common data here. So that is one of the ones which you can just be able to run. The next step, you can just use this one to check some of, maybe for example, which item had the highest sale. This is one of the items which had the highest sale. So this is the hemophos, this was the amount we sold. Also you can be able to check maybe the HIV self-test kits. Maybe you can also be able to check these other drugs. So if you want just to get quick summaries, you can be able to understand how your products are going and how you are managing your sales. The other one you can be able to check is maybe in terms of the quantities. Which of these products had the highest quantity in terms of sales? So as you can see, this one, the number 8 forms around 7%. This one shifts to 65, that's why we have 14%. So you can be able to see, for example, this one appears 3 times. This one is counting the number of times these ones are appearing. So you can be able now to check some of these numbers. How many times did we sell these ones? So this is in terms of the frequency, not in terms of the numbers, the frequency in which we sold these prescriptions. The other one you can just check in terms of the weekly reports. So how many days were we open? From our data, from this data, this one, you can see this one we have been creating this one for a few days. So that's why you let's go back to this data. And then we can just let's go to this one, and then we can move back to this one. So we can see we sold for 4 days, for example. So this data will be found on the daily sales. So let's go to our sales reports. This will now be the final reports which we shall not be using. So this one, you can see this has just been updated a few minutes ago. You can just remove that one. This one will just make it simpler. You can just change this one to make it a bit different. So we can see we sold for 4 days, and also now the number of items that we sold. This one will just be calculating this number of items. So if maybe the first day we sold 40 items, the second day we sold 90 items, 90 items, this one will just calculate this number, the totals, and then we'll just be able to see we have sold this number of items. The other thing you can just be able to check with this one is in terms of the maximum items which we had sold. So for this one, we can be able to see the 21st is when we had not the 23rd, we had the highest sale in terms of 376. That's the number we have here, and also the number of best sales. Which day do we sell the best? This one will not be the day which you sold the best. That is much simpler for that one. Also, you can be able to check in bar line, how did we perform on this day and how did this go. Also, you can be able to find some of the other information on this one. For example, this one you can be able to see we sold this amount, and that represents 21%. We sold 25%, and that is 13k. This one is 24% and 12k, and just summarize this data. So the other thing you could be able to check in this one is how did you be able to perform. This just displays the random numbers for this one. So you can be able to say lifetime sales, you've just sold around 16 products, 16 unique items. In this one, you have sold a total of 10,000 items, a total of 10k, and also now we have around 14 items. So these one are the lifetime sales. This is not the total number of sales that we have already made. So if the unique items which we sold, so if maybe we sold to 20 people, maybe 20 prescriptions, this one will be now the number which will now be displayed on this dashboard here. Also now in terms of the total sales which we made, this will now be calculating the lifetime sales which you have already made. So if maybe you have made a sale of around 50,000, that is what will now be represented on this one. Now this one will now be calculating the number of unique drugs which you have already sold, and now this dashboard here will now be representing how each drug is performing. So what was the frequency with which we are able to sell this drug. So if we sold one for 2 times, for example, you can be able to check for the dry and drowsy. For example, you can be able to see 1, you can be 2 times. So this is just how you can be able to check these frequencies in a much simpler format. Do a lot of computational mathematics or just using some complicated softwares. Just use n8n. As you can see, these are the workflows which were running.